Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time, the AFTN Soccer Show. I'm your host, Michael McCall, and we're back with another episode this week. As if the 3 hours that we brought you on Monday wasn't enough, we're back with another couple of hours just because there's so much happening in the world of football at the moment, in Vancouver football at the moment. Can't even fit it all into this show. So we're going to have a lot to talk about in the next one as well. After the long wait, we are so close to Whitecaps taking on LAFC in the eagerly anticipated Western Conference semi-final at BC Place on Saturday evening. A crowd of around 54,000 heading along for that one. It should be an absolute cracker. And I mean, what a week it's been. My voice, you might be able to tell a little bit, still hasn't fully recovered from screaming at the TV over 2 hours on Tuesday afternoon. Scotland heading to their first World Cup since 1998. Won't talk too much about that on this show. We'll wait until Zach's back with us next episode and we'll delve into that game. We'll look at the exciting CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers as well, that has seen a lot of drama on the last day of qualification matches. The MLS schedule dropped today, Thursday, November 20th. Wasn't expecting that. The earliest that the schedule has ever been. And it's a good start for the Whitecaps. 8 of the first 9 matches of the 2026 MLS season are going to be at BC Place. Obviously, it's very front-loaded because of BC Place being used for next year's World Cup. The one match in that batch that isn't going to be here in Vancouver is down in Portland. So fans, realistically, can get to the first 10 games of 2026 to cheer on the Caps. You're going to also have the CONCACAF Champions Cup games sprinkled in between that as well, which is going to be interesting because if the Whitecaps were hosting in a semi-final or the final of the Champions Cup, they're not going to be able to play that here in Vancouver, or at least not here at BC Place. But that's a discussion that we'll have on the next show or a future show as well. So you don't care what's coming up in future shows. What's in store for you in this one? Well, we've got a packed show for you. We're going to be joined by Asa Rehman as my special guest co-host for this episode as we talk Whitecaps LAFC. We've got some audio to bring you. I had a chat at training on Thursday with Sebastian Berhalter, back from a fantastic spell away with the US national team, getting his first international goal. Talk to him about that, looking ahead to the LA game as well. Also have a quick chat with Emmanuel Sabbi, who's in the form of the season right now for the American winger and is definitely going to be a key attacking threat for that game against LA on Saturday. That's coming up in part 2. We'll also hear from LAFC head coach Steve Cherundolo and his last pre-match press conference that he had on Thursday. That will also be coming up in part 2 alongside a special chat, some special audio from Whitecaps legend Young-Pyo Lee, the South Korean, talking about his time in Vancouver. Son coming to MLS and how the league is looked at down in South Korea these days. And in part 3, we are going to bring you MLS Commissioner Don Garber's media conference that he had last week to announce the new schedule change for the league coming in 2027 and the changes to the Apple TV deal as well. So a lot to pack in to this episode of the show. It's going to be the perfect warm-up for you for the big game on Saturday. We'll kick things off by talking Whitecaps, LAFC. It's finally close to being here. Depending on when you're listening to this, it's going to be 1 or 2 more sleeps for everyone ahead of the game. So I thought best person to bring in for the coverage to preview this one is the man that's going to be having the call on the radio for the game on Saturday, and I'm sure he's very excited to it. So welcome back to the show, Asa Rehman.
Thanks so much for having me, Michael. And I guess some people might be listening to this day of, morning of, getting ready for the match on Saturday. So yeah, should be a great occasion. Can't wait for it.
I mean, with how much stuff we put out, there's going to be folk probably listening to this after the game's taken place. So our optimism for the game's either going to be misplaced or they'll be like, oh, those guys knew something. But I mean, this is such a big game and it's been such a long wait. It's like, it's the longest 3 weeks. I would describe me watching Scotland on Tuesday as the longest 2 hours of my life. But this has felt like the longest 3 weeks, just waiting for this game to come around. But I mean, it's finally here. How excited are you to have the call on Saturday?
Yeah, thrilled to bits. Cannot wait for this. You're right. It's been a long 3 weeks, but I think this is the matchup that everyone was looking forward to. Once we kind of saw the schedule, saw the way that the playoffs would line up, and saw the next potential opponent for the Vancouver Whitecaps after Dallas, figured it would be LAFC. You would have these 3 weeks potentially, and because both teams swept their series, got it done in 2 games, we had the full 3 weeks, and you wanted this matchup, so why not have the long build up for it? I think that players and coaches and fans are really excited for this, and they've got a lot of time to build up the excitement. And it didn't take long for this thing to sell out as well. I know you've mentioned it throughout, 53,000 plus expected there, and that kind of tells you how ready this market is for this matchup. And it's not just to see the opposition, not just to see Son, which is sometimes the case here. You have a crowd that's wanting to see Messi, obviously, but this is because of what the Vancouver Whitecaps have done so far this season, and because this is a rivalry, probably one of the biggest rivalries in the league right now. And I think if you were to pick 2 teams in the league that you'd want to see match up against each other, of any teams in the league, East or West, these are the 2 that I think that most people were excited for. So when you look at the 3 weeks, it was a long time, a long wait, but why not for these 2 teams? It feels like it's a cup final where we have the extra time, the extra build-up for this marquee matchup.
It's a very good point. It does feel, I mean, this feels like it's the Western Conference final. With all respect to San Diego and Minnesota. And obviously, whoever gets through this still has to get past one of those 2 teams to actually get to the MLS Cup. But when it was coming to the end of the season, I was like, I just want to make sure wherever we finish in the standings, I want to avoid LAFC until the Western Conference game. Now, it hasn't worked out that way. But, I mean, ultimately, if we want to be the best, we've got to beat the best. And these are 2 of the most exciting attacks in all of MLS, and also 2 very different playing styles as well.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so great, because I think there's no secret that this is going to play out as one team wanting possession, wanting to have the ball, and the other one wanting to hit on the counterattack. And the Whitecaps have been so good in possession and creating chances in open play. And LAFC is probably the best in the league when it comes to hitting on the counter, and they do it with 2 guys, as we expected when Son was first signed with LAFC, that it was going to be him and Denny Bouanga that most people just can't keep up with. So a real chess match. I don't think there's going to be any real tricks leading up to it. They're going to line up the way we expect them to line up, but then it's going to be interesting once the ball kicks off what the adjustments are, who sort of throws the first punch and then the counter punch, so to speak, and what kind of changes and tweaks are made at halftime. That's what I'm really excited about seeing, because I do believe that they're gonna give you what you expect them to give you from the opening sort of 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to be the Whitecaps on the ball. It's going to be LAFC looking to hit on the counter. And I see this game going a number of different ways. I see the Whitecaps potentially winning by multiple goals. I see LAFC potentially winning by multiple goals. I see this being a tie, a close game, a one-goal game as well. I think that this can go every which way, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah. Let's rewind a little bit before we look a bit more ahead to Saturday. So the 2-game series against Dallas, the game at BC Place. Now, we talked about this is jam-packed for this one. So it's 54,000. But for that Dallas game, over 32,000. The flags were amazing. As much as I hate where the press box is now from our point of view, because you're kind of in the corner and it's a really crappy view across the pitch, being at that side in the supporters section, and I try and sit as far over to near the supporters as possible, you got to fully experience the flags and everything. Calling that game, what was that like for you? Just the whole atmosphere, looking out, seeing the flags, and just the fans so into it?
One of the best atmospheres I've been a part of at BC Place. One of the most fun games I've had to call on radio, and because of the atmosphere, like you talked about, leading up to it as well. There's a bit of hype, bit of buzz as well. The fans are invested in this team. They're a knowledgeable fan base as well. We've seen this. I've recently tweeted about this as well. The fact that, they're applauding the subtle plays, the little nuances within the game. And I think that that's one of the things I've come to appreciate. And it was on full display in that game against Dallas. And yeah, it was great to see the fans as well, the engagement from the fans there. And then you feed off of it as a commentator. And Michael, like when they're going, you're going in it. And I love the fact that they are so engaged and so invested in this team and loving every crunching Kuba's tackle, because that gets me jacked as well. And it's been a privilege to call these games this season, and really looking forward to this next one against LAFC. And this is a team, the Whitecaps are definitely a team that I think has caught the attention of everyone in the league because of the way they play, the way that they want to dictate play. And we saw them take that on the road as well into Dallas. So it's been a fun season so far, and I love calling these games, and the fans have made it so special. I was not surprised to see this thing sell out 53,000 plus at BC Place as quickly as it did.
I envy you, because the games that I call don't have fans. So it's like you can thrive on all the atmosphere and everything. I don't know if you picked this up in the home Dallas game, but right in front of us, there was a big section of the fans that were going, Sabbi, 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 talking about like picking up on little nuances. Like that's a player that you might not think the fans are just suddenly going to start chanting his name.
No, that's exactly it. I didn't hear that. So sometimes, yeah, we'll hear sort of some chants going, or can't really make out what exactly is being said, but you can hear some chants kind of happening in certain areas. But I didn't pick up on that one in particular, but does not surprise me, because you're right. Sabbi's a great example where, and I've mentioned this in the past as well, there have been games where he's had an incredible game, and then Thomas Muller has a hat trick, or something else happens, and it kind of takes the spotlight away from Emmanuel Sabbi. But he's been phenomenal for the Vancouver Whitecaps all season long, like so many others. And Sebastian Berhalter's, I guess, the latest that's kind of getting some attention here with what he's done with the U.S. men's national team. So just going across the board, absolutely everyone's stepping up, having these huge moments. And you're right, the fans are picking up on all of it and appreciating all of it.
Now, the second game, the one that got us here over and done in two, I mean, there's been some dramatic endings for Whitecaps games all year, mostly in the Champions Cup, but we've had the Orlando game recently, this Dallas win down there. And before we talk about that, let's just hear some audio from that. So this is your Match in a Minute call, courtesy of CKNW, and you can find them on AM 730 and all the streams online and on the website as well. So this is Asa and Collins' Match in a Minute for that second game down in Dallas.
Now, time for Match in a Minute.
Ali Ahmed. Back to Berhalter. He'll chip it ahead. Decent ball. Rios brings it down. Little back heel to Thomas Muller. Fights off his man. Shields off his man. And then Kubas who sends it out to the right side. Driven towards goal. Wide of the mark. Pass to Petar Musa. Touches it down. And now Musa's played through. Tries to touch it past the keeper. Yohei comes up with a fine save. And then it's volleyed wide. Collodi pushes it onto his left foot, drives it forward. That's intercepted by Sabbi. He's got it inside the box now. Little step over to the outside. Shot towards goal, just wide. Pulls it wide of the post. And it's a poor pass. He struggled to control it, and now it's hit the head for Petar Musa. He's in behind. And one-on-one with the keeper. Chips it past Yohei Takaoka. 1-0 FC Dallas, 25th minute of this match. And he's got Sabbi to his right. Plays it to him, gets it right back. He's got one option inside, sends it across, it's blocked. Sabbi fighting for it, gets it. Sabbi inside the box. Sabbi shot blocked by Norris. Out for a corner kick for the Vancouver Whitecap. Caps need to be better with these set pieces, this corner kick here. Berhalter sends it in. This is a decent ball. Headed, and cleared off the line. Now it's turned in. Ralph Priso has leveled this match.
Wow.
In stoppage time. Illumi fighting for a snapshot from Laborda. Jaden Nelson still looks. Jaden Nelson! What a save by Collodi! What a save by Collodi!
What a save that is. I cannot believe it. Jaden Nelson.
Caps have hit all four. Norris to take this one. If Yohei makes the save here, it's all done. Norris, slow run up, walking up. Sends it over the bar!
That is the worst penalty I've seen in Dixie Dean's many years ago.
What a way to go down. Dallas are out.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic call. I mean, there's nothing, like, as a commentator, when it's late drama, it's so exciting. And penalty shootouts, it's always tough because you never know how much to talk, how much not to. But you have to talk a lot because folk that's listening to you don't have the pictures.
That's right. You have to describe all of it. You do. You paint the picture, different. Right, Michael? And you're right about penalties because sometimes, but at the same time, and Thomas Muller, we've had the privilege of calling a few Thomas Muller penalties. He has this slower run-up. So you definitely want to let it breathe a little bit. But you're right. You want to tell the story and set the scene a little bit as well, but also build that drama. It's been nice, I guess, being able to practice it throughout the season because the Whitecaps have won so many penalties because there is, I'm finding that there's a bit of art to it, I guess, as far as kind of letting it breathe, painting the picture, setting it up, and then delivering as it's taken. And that final one did not anticipate that. I had a feeling maybe Yohei Takaoka would make the save, but did not expect the miss that followed to seal the deal for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And it was another great occasion and glad that the Whitecaps got it done, even though it wasn't the prettiest performance for the Vancouver Whitecaps from start to finish. They did enough in the end, and full credit to Ralph Priso as well, popping up in the moment right at the death to get that equalizing goal to send it to penalties. Highly entertaining match to watch and to call.
There's another player that if you're writing down, I mean, you can't even say unsung heroes anymore because we all know what they do. So they do get the credit. But Ralph Priso coming in after Tristan Blackman went down, and you're like, whoa, why is he playing centre-back? And I said to him that I feel he's excelled game to game, and he doesn't feel that way. And he thinks, I've been all right. But that's Ralph's style. He's such a laid-back guy. But like for him to get that goal was something special. And that's been the story all season. You look at these Whitecaps players like JC and Gando popping up with some crucial goals. And in the Champions Cup run as well, you had Nelson Pierre, who's had very limited minutes, and then gets that goal against Orlando. And you've had all these performers. And whilst everyone for this LA game's talking about Son and Muller, and you factor Buanga in there, and Brian White and Ryan Gauld, I genuinely feel that it's going to be one of the players that we're not necessarily talking about that's going to be the standout hero or villain in this game, but hopefully hero.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's kind of where I've focused my attention recently because you're right. So much of the spotlight is going to be on Muller versus Son, and you have these other 20 players on the pitch, obviously, they're wanting it just as much. And several players for both teams that have had these pivotal moments throughout the game. I guess to be, Denny Bouanga is the other big name for LAFC that comes to mind. But for the Vancouver Whitecaps, you have Berhalter. We've mentioned him already, coming up huge for the U.S. men's national team. You have Ali Ahmed, Emmanuel Sabbi, Brian White. I expect to feature quite heavily in this game. Still some big, heavy hitters for both teams here. And I expect, like you mentioned, Michael, it's going to be some of these other guys that kind of make the most of these moments because the opportunities will fall to them. You figure it will. There's going to be so much focus on the big names for each of these teams. It's going to be these other ones that'll have the opportunity to step up. And then the other thing is the subs. I think that this is going to be decided in the second half, probably with those changes, those tactical moves and adjustments in the second half that could turn the game after we've seen it play out for 60 minutes or 70 minutes one certain way. I feel like there's going to be something that changes in the second half. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, yeah. And from a Whitecaps point of view up front, like Brian White, I think he'll start.
I think so too.
He's got an hour in him, I'm pretty sure. But how much more? Remembering this could be a game that goes 120 minutes. But then you've got Danny Rios, who doesn't sound like he's going to be good to go. And then Ryan Alumi is then your fallback person. Although you've got Ryan Gauld that can also play up front as well. So, I mean, we could find ourselves, the dying embers of this game, not even playing with a recognised striker.
It's a good point, yeah. Yeah, the potential absence of Rios is a big one. And I know some people might have been down on him at some points, but looking back on all the games, all his performances, everything he's done for this team, he's come up with goals when they've needed it. He's a big body up top. He's played out wide. He's adjusted. He's done everything they've asked him to do. So if he's unavailable for this game, that is a pretty significant loss for the Vancouver Whitecaps. But Ryan Alumi has really impressed me. And there are moments in the season where I've just wanted to see more and more of him because he doesn't look like a teenager out there. He doesn't look like a player who's in his first year of pro football here. But he's so strong on the ball. I think of the setup for Kenji Cabrera that he had at BC Place. He plays through absolutely everyone. He's so strong on the ball. I know you talked about Rios and his hold-up play. I think Ryan Alumi is incredible with his hold-up play as well. Really calm on the ball for a young player. So I'd be excited to see him come in late in this game. And maybe he's the hero. You talked about, these people that you wouldn't suspect coming up with these big moments. Ryan Alumi might be that guy. Yeah,
he gets chances. Like the ball falls to him, and yes, some of them he just hasn't taken, but they've been difficult ones. But you look at our attack, and if you look at like subs that could come on, like I think Sabbi's earned the start. So, I mean, if you're looking at Brian White up front, you've got Sabbi on one wing, you've got Ali Ahmed on the other, and you've got Thomas Muller behind. But then you've got Jaden Nelson and Kenji Cabrera and Ryan Gauld that you can bring on. And that's a luxury. When you look back at these previous series against LAFC, and it's two very different teams, and you can't really take too much from it. But this is a much deeper Whitecaps team that if we need game changers, we've got the players now that we can bring in.
Yeah, and Ryan Gauld pointed something out in Tuesday's press conference where he mentioned that this team is very different in the way that they play as well. Yes, there's more sort of talents coming off the bench. The team's deeper, absolutely everywhere. Jivan Badwal is another player who's really impressed me this year, and we haven't really mentioned him as far as like just an engine in the midfield. You have so many players. The team is so deep right now, but they are playing completely a different style of football as well, where they want the ball. They're very fluid in the way that they move. Thomas Muller will pop out on a wide area. You'll have Ali Ahmed running underneath. It's very different. It's really attractive to watch. And that's, I think, the biggest difference where they've had success against LAFC this year. And I think that's the biggest reason why. Yes, it was pre-Muller and Son, but I think you can see why the Whitecaps have been successful against LAFC and so many other teams so far this season.
Yeah, there's no baggage there anymore going up against these teams. And like the Whitecaps have shown they are a good team.
Yeah.
Don't do what they've done this year without being a good team. And it does look, because it was interesting, I think it was Gemma's question to Jesper on Tuesday, that was, is this the most players that you've had available?
Yes. Yeah.
For a long time, if not the whole season. And it probably is, because up until the last couple of weeks, Sabbi hadn't even played with Ryan Gauld, because Sabbi was out at the start, then Ryan went down. So now it looks like everyone's back. Even I saw you on Twitter talking about how Cherundolo's back on the pitch now as well. We've got Pupa. I mean, defensively, it's a headache, but a nice one to have for Jesper, because you slot Tristan in. Who do you play beside him? Ralph Priso's done great. It's tough on Ralph if he doesn't get to play this, but at the same time, you kind of want a proper centre-back in there. But Bilal Halbouni is still quite an inexperienced player in some ways, but him and Tristan had this great partnership. Do you put Matty Laborda in the middle beside him? But I like Matty at left-back. But then Tate Johnson's done well at left-back, but he's younger and can maybe be bullied a bit more. Ocampo at right-back, I think. Ocampo and Blackman are the only two of the four for me that I think are guaranteed. Yeah. What would you like to see the back four be?
It's a great question, and it's one that I've been wondering about for the past 2.5 weeks, it seems, since the last game ended, just how they approach this game defensively. And it's a luxury right now that Jesper Sorensen has so many players playing at such a high level. You mentioned Priso and Halbouni. I think you're right. Ocampo and Blackman, probably the first two you go with. You feel really confident about those two. What you do with the other two left-sided positions, I think, is still up in the air. It's really interesting. It's a great debate, and it depends on what I think Jesper wants to do tactically. The other thing that Ralph does so well, we talk about he's slotted in really well at the defensive position. He's been great at that, obviously, defensively. But he's so good on the ball. He's a central midfielder playing as a center back. So if they feel like they're going to have the ball, LAFC is going to sort of allow them and sit back and then look to hit on the counter. Ralph might be good at just keeping the Caps in possession and not having an unsightly turnover in a bad area or a mistouch or something like that. So if you want someone that's like really confident and comfortable on the ball, Ralph might be your best option. And he's also really fast. I think he's faster than people realize. He's a big body, and I think he's a really good ball winner in that spot as well. He gives up a bit of height, I guess, to some of the other center back options, but he's really quick, really strong on the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ralph Priso slot in at that center back spot. But Halbouni's done exceptionally well. You have Pupa, who could probably slot in there as well. I don't think we'll see Cherundolo. Just hasn't had any minutes at all since coming back from this injury. So I probably lean towards Ralph Priso at that left center back spot. And then the left back spot, that's a toss-up as well between Laborda and Tate Johnson. And either way, I think they feel pretty good about the options that they have there. And then I guess, do you wonder about maybe keeping Ralph Priso on the bench to maybe fill in for Kubas or Berhalter if an injury were to arise there? But I guess if that happens, you can move them all on the pitch. So many fun things to discuss and talk about before kickoff here. But that is one, Michael, that I've been wondering about leading up to this big matchup.
I just have a hunch that Priso's going to get the nod. But he hasn't played beside Tristan. That's been the problem. But I remember speaking to Tristan about having all these different centre-back partners, and he's like, you get the chemistry pretty quickly. Everyone knows the system. But it would...
Michael, I would not have believed that up until this season. Because usually, I think historically, I'm like, you need games together. You need the center-back partnership. Ranko and Tristan were so good together. They understand like where they're moving, and it's so important to have that chemistry. But so far this season, Michael, it's been, Bilal and Ralph Priso. They look like they've been playing together since they were 5 years old. Like whoever kind of slots in together seems to have that chemistry almost instantly. So I don't know what's going on with Jesper Sorensen and what they're teaching there, but it seems to be working where whoever's slotting in, it seems like the chemistry is there almost immediately.
Yeah. I think I go with Matty at left back just because we are going to have the ball and the Whitecaps are going to be going forward a lot, and I'm more comfortable with him going forward and getting back. Tate's great. He's had a great season, but I think you go with a bit more experience. And also Laborda at set pieces when the corners and free kicks coming in. They've practiced it so much. He's such a good header of the ball. So's Tristan. The flip side is I always worry in these games, Ryan Hollingshead. He's like a cap killer. And he's the LAFC player that I'm most worried about, to be honest, in this.
I agree. Nathan Ordaz is the guy that kind of slides in behind Bouanga and Son as like the third attacker. But you're right, Hollingshead is the one that stands out to me as like the X factor for them going forward. And that's a great shout. That's a really good point. But then you made a good point as well with Laborda on set pieces, and that's the one thing I think they miss a little bit when they have Priso. So I think if they go Priso, you have that covered with Laborda just as far as attacking set pieces and defensive set pieces as well. And yeah, I say that, Priso gives up a little bit of hype, but he seemed to get that goal. I guess that was on the floor though.
Like
on
the Dallas coach
popped up in the right point. Yeah,
the Dallas coach had talked about, they're a small team, we're going to target that. Well, they didn't manage to. So
yeah, no,
it's all right having a game plan. It's like, can you execute it? I think neither team. One of the keys for me is don't give free kicks up in and around the box, because both teams have players that are going to really punish you. And like Sebastian Berhalter on free kicks is just like tremendous.
Yeah.
The other thing from an LAFC point of view, which we've talked about this on the show, and it's baffling me how much space teams are giving Thomas Muller. Like, he seems to just, and I know he's known as the guy that can just find space. So because of that, just leave him unmarked in the box. And so many teams have done that so far. It's crazy to me.
It is incredible how he continually finds space. And I guess, teams won't defensively man mark the way they used to back in the day, where you would
unless
follow
under
a guy
Vanny.
all over the pitch, right? So, he will find his space as long as you're like the opposition set up in their system, whatever that looks like defensively, low, mid block. He'll find space. He'll go pop out into wide areas. And then it is remarkable. And a lot of people can't find space when the field shrinks in the 18. He's still able to find space. So, that's just Thomas Muller. And that's the one thing I'd say he obviously excels at, right? He's not the biggest, fastest, strongest, but always seems to find space. And that's why he gets these goals. And you wonder if they'll have a specific game plan, how they'll handle Thomas Muller, because I think even in some of these games, and I've heard you mention it as well, Michael, where it doesn't look like he's having maybe the best game. Thomas Muller seems a little bit quieter. Yeah. It's hard to be critical, obviously, of Thomas Muller, but at the same time, he has these quieter moments, and then he still pops up when they need him in these critical moments.
Yeah, there's some games I would say that he's not been very good in, but then he's left it with a goal, couple of assists,
and that's what we remember, and that's what we talk about. Yeah,
it's. For me, out of the two big names, Son has had the bigger impact since coming in. I think he's been better, and he is obviously a big problem. He's going to be tired playing for Korea, flying. The guys that we had on from MLS 360 don't see that as being a problem now, because he'll be travelling first class and can stretch out and rest and stuff. But I think if you can subdue him, and the Whitecaps have shown they can deal with these big guys. Messi was not even in the conversation in those two games early in the year. So I feel fully comfortable that they can do it against Son. I also would not be surprised if Eddie Aracampo goes through him 2 minutes in the game with a heavy challenge and gets away with it as well.
That is something to watch, and I'm a little bit nervous about. Bouanga and Son are a handful and tough to deal with. I just hope it doesn't create one of these scenarios that turns into a quick card and just flips the game completely.
Because Laborde is also prone to these tackles as well.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's malicious or ill intent.
No.
It's just sometimes the other guy's faster than you, gets the wrong side of you. You stick a leg out, and all of a sudden you're in the book, and you hope it's nothing more than a yellow. But that's the thing that I am a little bit worried about, because it's nothing against the Whitecaps defensively. It's more credit to what Son and Bouanga do. They put you in these situations where just sticking a leg out, you're a second late maybe, and then they're drawing these fouls.
Put you on the spot. How do you see this one going?
Oh, I think I mentioned I could see it going every which way.
Yeah.
I think it's a 2-1 game. at the end of it.
That was my thought as well.
Yeah, and I'll lean Whitecaps in that one. It could go 2-0 Whitecaps, and then LAFC get one in the second half and make it interesting. If LAFC gets the first one on a counter, as you'd expect, fancy the Whitecaps can still get it back, but that's where I could see it creating other opportunities on the counter as well as you continue to push bodies forward. But yeah, putting me on the spot, having to make a decision, I'll say 2-1 Whitecaps.
I mean, I think that as well. Obviously, it'd be great if the Whitecaps made it a little bit easier for us, but as long as we're still in the game going into stoppage time with a chance to win it or come back and send it to extra time, I'll take that. I don't know that I can handle another stressful 2 to 3 hours like I had on Tuesday with Scotland. I'm getting old now. My heart's not good for things like that. But no, I fancy the Whitecaps can do this. And yeah, let's hope they can. So that's some of our thoughts on how we think that game's going to play out. Headed along to training on Thursday. So let's bring you some audio from that. And we'll be back with that after this episode's Britpop song.
Hi, I'm Young-Pyo, and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show. And kicking off this part, it's this episode's Britpop song as we continue to pay tribute to 30 years of Britpop. Only got a couple more songs to bring you over the next couple of shows. Then we'll be into December and our festive 15 for 2025. Looking forward to bringing you that one. So, still got a few good tunes to bring you. And in this section I've mentioned I've kind of wanted to play the big name bands that everyone knows from the Britpop scene, but also the ones that a lot of folk won't know. They were maybe semi-big in the UK or just not really known at all in the UK. And the song you've heard there kind of falls into the latter category. It's a 4-piece Britpop band called Autopop. I don't even know where they're from, and I had a look to try and find out, and I couldn't find it at all. They only released 3 singles overall. One in 1995 that you heard there, Still Hanging Around. 2 in 1996, and then they split up. So that was their debut, released in November 1995, Autopop, Still Hanging Around. And we'll bring you 2 more Britpop songs from 1995 in the next episode of the show. But we're going to get back to the football chat now. We're going to continue the Whitecaps-LAFC chat, and I'm going to bring you some audio that I got from training on Thursday ahead of the big game. Then we'll also hear from LAFC head coach Steve Cherundolo in this part, and then some special audio from former Whitecap Korean legend YP Lee, looking ahead to the game Son in MLS and his time here in Vancouver. But we'll start with some chats with a couple of Whitecaps. And I think, like Ace and me talked in the last part, I think the starting 11 pretty much picks itself for this one from a Whitecaps point of view. And you know, in the middle of that pack, the midfield pivot, Sebastian Berhalter, Andres Kubis, and what a week it has been for Seba. What a year it's been for Sebastian, really doing fantastically with the Whitecaps at club level. 44 games played for the Whitecaps this year in MLS, playoffs, Champions Cup, Canadian Championship. 8 goals, 13 assists in those 44 games. Hasn't scored or got an assist yet in the playoffs, but it does feel that could maybe only be a matter of time. And he's going to be heading into this game with LAFC absolutely brimming with confidence after getting his first goal for his national team on Tuesday in that 5-1 hammering of Uruguay. Now, I know it wasn't a full-strength Uruguay team, but also it was a US side made up of a lot of MLS players, a league that Uruguayan head coach Bielsa has criticised as not being that good quality. So I think they kind of showed him. But it was great for Seba on Tuesday. Can't believe him and Tristan Blackman's got me looking forward to and cheering on the US to win games. But it's just absolutely delighted to see the year that Seba has had at club level, at international level. Got his first goal, as mentioned, on Tuesday. Got an assist in that game as well on the second goal. But his first goal was a beauty. Free kick, little touch inside, gets the ball back, curls it into the far corner. Same again, please, Seba, on Saturday, and that would be very nice indeed. So, Seba, back at Whitecaps training on Thursday. Not taking part, just resting after his travel day and exertions with the national team. So I got a chance to catch up with Seba after training was finished today, just to chat about that game on Tuesday and the big one coming up on Saturday.
First thing I've got to talk to, let's rewind to Tuesday. Football firsts are always something that will live with you throughout your life and your career. So this year we've spoken about you getting your first cap, you've played at your first tournament, now you've had your first national team goal, and it's an absolute beauty. You must be absolutely buzzing right now.
Yeah, it's a dream come true, especially in that way, just to win the game too. And you know, people kind of counted us out before the game, and to go out there and win that game was pretty special. It was fun.
I was going to talk about that. It's like Poch has had so much criticism, and it's like he's always been like, no, just this is going to come good. And the last couple of windows, the last couple of games, the team seems to have turned a corner. Does it feel like that within the group?
Yeah, I think it's just time. I think guys have time together, you know, and that's something that we needed. And you know, we look at Nations League, like they were there for 2 days before the Nations League. Gold Cup, it wasn't the whole group, and then it's just normal, you know, it's just time, and you can see the more time everyone's been together, the better it's been. So it's good.
Proud family as well. After that, did your phone just light up?
Yeah, my mom was there, my grandparents were there. It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was nice.
Oh, super. Nice. Right, looking ahead then to Saturday. Big game. It's obviously been a very long wait. Having these games and keeping you up at these levels, that must also be really helpful for you.
Totally. I think it was a good thing, and that I got to go there and play at that level. And yeah, just so excited for this game and want to go out there and win.
Big crowd as well. Now you've had it against Miami in the past, and I know you can't look at the past because everything's like so different now. But Whitecaps teams, when it's been a big crowd, they haven't risen to the occasion. This year's been totally different. We saw it with the Miami game, seen it in the Dallas first leg as well. As a player, when you run out and you see it's a full house and this flag, sea of white, what does that do to you?
Yeah, it's motivating, you know, to know that the fans have your back like that, and everyone's coming there to watch us win. So it's a fun thing, and it's good.
And how do you see this playing out? Like, yes, we've spoken about we like possession, they like counter-attack. Is it going to be a game that it's going to be like tight to the very end, or do you think that one of these teams, yourself hopefully, has got enough to just get ahead and then just play this out?
We're just going to do what we do. You know, we're not worried about what it's going to look like, and we've been doing the same thing the whole year, so just kind of nailing that in and going out there and doing what we do.
The relationship that you've got with the whole team is fantastic, and like it's kind of like a bromance, I guess, with Thomas. You've just hit it off. What is it that's clicked with you?
I think You mean individually or as a team?
Yeah, like sort of individually.
No, I think it's,
you're always hanging out and.
Yeah, no, this is the one of the best group of guys I've ever been a part of, and it's easy. It's nothing's forced, and we hang out off the field, and everyone just loves being around each other. It's just a fun time, and it's a good time to be a Whitecap for sure.
It definitely shows that. Sebastian Berhalter there, and just, I'll say it again, absolutely tremendous 2025, and for me, right up there as a Whitecap Player of the Year. It'd be fantastic for him, and all the guys, of course, to cap off this historic season with an MLS Cup to his name as well. But I'm very excited for this game, because it's two attacking teams. It's two attacking teams, as we just talked about, that's got very different styles. LAFC is going to want to hit in the counter. Whitecaps wanting to control the ball. Very different from Whitecap sides that we've seen in the past. But one thing that is similar to teams that we've had in the past is the explosive speed out wide. But although we've had that in previous Whitecaps teams, I don't think we've had it of the quality that we have right now. Whether you're looking at Ali Ahmed, Kenji Cabrera, Jaden Nelson, Ryan Gold, Emmanuel Sabbi, any of those players playing out wide are explosive, they can score, they can get assists, and they've all contributed big time this year. And I think we are looking at the two starting wingers being Ali Ahmed and Emmanuel Sabbi. And since making the move to the Whitecaps this year, Emmanuel Sabbi has just gone from strength to strength. Horrible start to the season for him, where he picked up an injury before the season began. But since then, he's come in, he's got 8 goals, 7 assists on the year, has looked unplayable at times in the last few games, and in the playoffs, just got 1 assist to show for putting Dallas to the sword in that game at BC Place, where he was just absolutely on fire. But it does feel just now that Sabbi is in the best form that we've seen him in a Whitecaps jersey. He's secured that starting spot and has been absolutely electric, and is going to put what I still feel is not a great LAFC defence, going to give them such a big test on Saturday, and he's going to be a real handful for them. And if they focus all their attention on trying to stop Thomas Muller, Emmanuel Sabbi is exactly the kind of player that's going to take advantage of that. So I got a chance to chat to Emmanuel after training today as well. Here's what he had to tell me. Right, let's talk about Saturday. It's been a long wait. You must just be absolutely buzzing right now.
Yeah, definitely buzzing. I think the whole squad is have been buzzing with the wait that we've had. Got our bodies ready for the game Saturday, so it's good.
We talked a little bit after the Dallas first game here with the crowd, 32,000. Now it's more. You've had this already this year with the Miami game here. As a player, what does that do to you when you run out and you see it's absolutely packed and it's just going to be a sea of white?
Tremendously humbling. Very grateful for our fans. It's going to be loud, it's going to be packed, and hopefully we get the 3 points and move on. So,
you've not got the baggage the fans have from previous games against LA in the playoffs, so you're going into this fresh, but this feels such a different team, even from the 2 games that you've played against them this year. This feels like 2 different teams out there. How do you see Saturday playing out? Jesper's talked, we'll probably have a lot of the possession, and then they'll look to hit in the counter. Just how do you see this one going?
Oh, they're a great team, so we know that they're going to bring their best. It's going to be a hard-fought game, and we're going to look to do what we do best and try to dictate the game. And we just have to defend well and try to score some goals,
Last thing, you seem to be in the form of your season right now. You're absolutely flying. Do you feel like that out there?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the guys definitely put me in great positions. I thank God that, I had an injury coming in, and it got me ready to get fit. And, yeah, I've been back, and it's been very nice and very great.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Emmanuel Sabbi there, looking forward to the game on Saturday, as we all are.
And got a report from training today as well that watching the attacking drills that the Whitecaps were doing, both Sabbi and Nelson were burying chance after chance after chance. Some lovely finishes in there as well. They both looked at the top of their game, and it's mouth-watering what they might be able to do on that pitch on Saturday. And of course, trying to stop them is Steve Cherundolo and his LAFC side. So Cherundolo had his pre-match press conference today down in LA, so I'll bring you that just now. Now, if you hear some weird background noise, it's because it's torrential rain down in LA at the moment, which I know we're going to have at the weekend, but it's nice to know that other places get absolutely soaked as well. So that's the kind of background that you get from that as well. So some of the questions were in person, some were from Zoom, but some interesting comments from Cherundolo as he looks ahead to taking on the Whitecaps once again in the postseason.
Los Angeles, LA.
Just Vancouver, obviously a team that has shown throughout the season, right? They started extremely well and they've seemed to maintain that. With the addition of Muller, how have you seen him add to the group that they had? And what are you expecting? It's first time for you to see them with Muller. How does that change how you approach them?
Yeah, he's definitely a difference maker, a focus point for them offensively and defensively. He's a leader. Certainly made that team better, as has Sonny us. And I think Vancouver has shown all season that they are very particular in how they play with their behaviors and their movements, not so much formational. Meaning it's a very active team, it's a very disciplined team, and it's a fit team. At times, also quite aggressive and sometimes overboard. That's up to the referee to manage that. But it's certainly a team that, with very few moments throughout the season, they have always brought intensity, activity, being proactive, discipline in a tactical sense, and aggressiveness. And that's the standard that they bring every game.
What are the biggest challenges that Muller provides?
Well, I think it's just a player who understands the game extremely well. I don't know how many games he's played, but all at a very high level since very early on in his career. One of the few players to move up through Bayern's second team straight into the first team. Has obviously a plethora of experience and technical ability, a little unorthodox movement as well, a lot physically stronger than he looks. I can tell you firsthand. And so I just think it's somebody who can read a game from front to back very quickly and easily, and has the physical capabilities and technical abilities also to hurt you. And so in many ways he is a very modern number 10 for this league.
What was your experience of going up against him?
A little different. You're not just going up against Thomas Müller, you're going up against Franck Ribéry, Arjen Robben, you name them, and Robert Lewandowski. So it's not just one player against Bayern Munich. You're kind of up. It's a tough challenge, to say the least. But we have won there. I will put that on the record.
We started the media, I think, are guilty sometimes of getting into this conversation about the one player, the star, the focal point, Son versus the knee. I've done it plenty. Besides those guys, how do you see team matchup to team matchup? And compared to the years that they had Benny Sartini, where have you seen Vancouver different under Jesper Sorensen mentality and the way that they approach?
Yeah, I think it's a team. It's a very well-rounded team. They have a concept of how to play against the ball, and what I'm very impressed to see is that they don't change, and they've been very consistent. Not so much in spatial or formational, which they are consistent in that, but that's not important. It's their behaviors sliding through, stepping forward, being moving as a block, as a unit. Very narrow defensively, very compact, but always getting pressure on their ball. In some ways, very similar to early Red Bull days. And that's not easy to do, and they have the players to do that. So I think matching a playing style up with the players you have is really important, and he's done that, and I think he's done a great job in that. And then you sprinkle in some quality players, then it just becomes a little more dangerous offensively. So then you start to score goals as well, and it's just kind of one thing on top of it. And now you look at a deeper bench than a Vancouver team has ever had, and so they're subbing in 3-4 really quality players on the offensive end to also change the trajectory of games, if the game is not going according to their game plan. So I think it's certainly the most competitive Vancouver LAFC Vancouver we've seen yet. And you break it down by player to player.
Steve, you mentioned the aggressiveness with Vancouver. How do you look to take advantage of that? And you mentioned the referee having to manage that. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Yeah. Every match officiated is different. Every ref has their own style, has their own feeling for the game. We tend to see in playoffs things refs let a little more go before they start grabbing yellow cards and stuff, which is great. Letting players decide matches is the way to handle it, as long as players are safe. Yeah, I'm fully confident in the officiating in this league, and I'm sure we'll see more of that in this match. The only way you can match aggressiveness is to be the same. I think matching Vancouver's work rate, matching Vancouver's aggressive mentality is the very least what we need to accomplish there if we want to come away as winners. But I know this team, I know my group, and we're more than capable of doing that.
Any excuse to dig out the fall there and their wonderful song LA. But yeah, Steve Cherundolo there, LAFC head coach, maybe about to be in charge of the team, hopefully, for the very last time this weekend, moving back to Germany, where he did spend his whole playing career with Hannover 96, and going up against Thomas Müller on a number of occasions, touched on it there. So he'll know the danger that Thomas Müller can pose to his side. Anyone that's watched Thomas Müller play, of course, over the last few years will know exactly what the threat he is. And we've seen him in the games, and we touched on it there with Ace in the first part. There's been games this year where Thomas hasn't maybe been playing all that well, but then just comes away with the crucial goals, the crucial assists, the crucial input, and that's what he does. That's what top players do. They can change games, and that's why every team needs a game changer. And both these sides most certainly have those, and they have them in abundance as well. And it was interesting hearing Cherundolo there, just talking about he feels that this is the most evenly matched, player for player, position to position, that the Whitecaps and LAFC have been in his time at the helm of the club. And it's like, this is a stacked Whitecaps roster. Like, just out at training today and watching players on the pitch, it's like, forgot about JC and Gando and all the big input that he had early in the season, and he's out there doing his stuff. And you see the likes of Nelson Pierre, who was looking hungry and banging in the goals at training today as well. Jeevan Badwal getting some reps in today as well. And it's all these players, but it's a deep roster. You've got Kenji Cabrera that comes off the bench, Jaden Nelson that's going to come off the bench, and Cherundolo knows that. He knows that these are the players that can cause problems when it's off. And it isn't just all about Son versus Müller, Buanga versus White, and how those guys are going to perform. It's going to be what team plays as a team. And it's nice to hear the respect that Cherundolo gives the Whitecaps there. I didn't like the early playing of the, the ref needs to get a handle of the aggression card. I mean, you know it was going to come, and you know it's mind games, and these are what coaches do just to try and get any small gains at all in these matches. Is the referee going to hear that? Probably, because it's out in social media. I'm sure he might see that. Is he going to pay any attention to it? Probably not. Vancouver can be an aggressive team. We joked that Eddie Aracampo is probably going to go through Son in the first 2 minutes. If you can get away with these heavy early tackles without getting a yellow card, go for it. And that's the crucial thing for the Whitecaps here. Incidentally, the referee for this game, the man in the middle is going to be Rubiel Vazquez, and then the assistant referees, Corey Rockwell, Andrew Bigelow, Victor Rivas is the fourth official, Jeff Gamble is the VAR. And it's interesting, with all the issues we've had with referees this year, you look at all of those officials that are going to be in charge of the 4 semi-finals. No Tim Ford, no Alan Chapman anywhere. But no matter what anyone can say about other players that's going to step up and the non-big names, and I'm using inverted commas here, that could be the difference makers in this game, you know that the big talking point going into it and a big narrative coming out of it is going to be the battle between Son and Muller. First time Son will have stepped foot on the BC Place turf. Who knows, maybe he'll be back playing at the stadium when the World Cup comes around in a few months' time, but first time in league business, won't be the last as well, and not the first Korean player that we'll have seen in Vancouver. The Whitecaps, of course, themselves have had a couple of Korean players on their books. There's been 9 Korean players that have been in the league over the years. Here in Vancouver, Hwang In-bom was with the Whitecaps 2019-2020, and before that, the second ever Korean player to play in Major League Soccer, Lee Young-Pyo, and YP Lee was with the Whitecaps in 2012, 2013, an iconic figure in the team, an amazing defender, and a player that you still miss. He was a big personality, he was a fantastic footballer, and still keeps close tabs on Vancouver. And in the build-up to this one, YP Lee said he was happy to chat to media about Son coming to MLS, this game. So the hope was that we're going to be able to get a Zoom call done with him, myself and a couple of other media members. Unfortunately, with the time difference, 17 hours, and the fact that Korea had 2 big games, 2 friendlies in this past international window, which YP Lee's involved in the broadcasting side over in Korea, weren't able to get the Zoom done. So what we agreed to do is we'd all send questions to the Whitecaps. They would send them on to YP Lee, and he would do some recordings back for us. So I sent in 4 questions, and I'm not sure who else sent questions in, but overall, we answered 8 questions. Also did a bumper for the show, as you heard at the start of this part as well. So what I thought I would do is we'll bring you the full audio of his answers. So I'm going to ask questions so you know exactly what he's answering. But just to stress, this isn't me interviewing YP Lee. Some of the questions are mine, some of the other media members, but just so we can actually have it as a proper interview that makes sense on the show, we're going to do it that I'm just going to ask the 8 questions and then play in YP Lee's answers. But it's great to hear from him. Absolute legend. Here's his view on Whitecaps-LAFC, Son Heung-min in MLS, and his own time here in Vancouver. You had a very storied career as a player. You played in Korea, you played in Holland, England with Tottenham Hotspur, Germany with Borussia Dortmund. You had a spell over in Saudi Arabia, but then you came to the Whitecaps in 2012, had 2 seasons here altogether, spent another few years here after that just working behind the scenes with the club and just enjoying life in Vancouver. How do you look back at your time here with the Whitecaps and in the city?
The 7 years in Vancouver were fantastic for me and my family. Thank you to the Vancouver Whitecaps. I was able to finish my playing career well. And my kids made many happy memories here. Looking back, even though I played in many countries, the time in Vancouver remaining the most memorable for me and my family.
It's a big game coming up for the club on Saturday. Chance to reach the Western Conference final for the first time. It's been a historic season for the club so far. They look to make some more now in the weeks to come. What have you made of the Whitecaps season so far, and what are you expecting from this game with LAFC?
The Whitecaps had an amazing season with record points, wins and goals. And adding Thomas Müller makes them even stronger with 53,000 fans coming. I expect a great match that everyone will enjoy.
Of course, going up against the Whitecaps on Saturday is a man you know very, very well. Another legend from Korean soccer, Son Heung-min. Now, we all know how big a threat Son is to any team that he goes up against, but for you, what are the big danger points that the Whitecaps have to watch out for in the game on Saturday?
Son is clearly the biggest threat in this weekend match. He has a great speed, excellent off-the-ball movement, and strong finishing. The Whitecaps must watch his runs into the space behind the defense and avoid giving him shooting chances near the box. They must also able to be careful with the foul near the box because his set-piece ability is very good.
Now, I mentioned you've known Son Heung-min for a number of years. You've watched him come through. You've played with him as well. When did you first play with Son on the Korean national team? And did you know right from the start that he had what it took to become a global superstar in the game?
When I was nearing the end of my national team career, Son Heung-min had just joined the team. His speed and passion impressed not only me, but also as many teammates from the start. Seeing how he has grown over more than 10 years is a huge joy for me and for all Korean football fans.
We all obviously know Son's quality from the games we've seen him play for the Korean national team at World Cups, over in Europe with some top clubs. But he's come here to MLS and absolutely lit it on fire. 12 games for LAFC so far, 10 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs, 10 goals, 4 assists. It's been an incredible start to his career in the league. How have you viewed how he's come in and adapted to MLS right away?
Son Heung-min already proved himself in Europe, and he adapted to MLS and LAFC without needing time. This shows how prepared he is as a player. Success in Europe doesn't guarantee success in MLS, but he has proven again that he performed well wherever he goes.
Son is the 9th Korean player to come and play in MLS. You know the league very well. You were the 2nd Korean player to come. We've seen it with Messi coming to the league. It's got more global eyeballs on it. Thomas Müller coming to Vancouver's had more interest from Germany. What's the interest in the league like in Korea? And how much does adding a player like Son to the league increase that interest now going forward?
Many Korean players have played in MLS before, but Son's move created a much bigger interest in Korea. His transfer clearly increased Korean attention toward MLS in LAFC. This is exactly why MLS wanted to have top players like Son.
There's been a few Korean players over the years coming to MLS, as we mentioned. Do you see somebody like Son coming here now, being the star of more players from Korea wanting to come over, wanting to experience MLS and life in Canada, America?
Many Korean players dream of the playing abroad. The Europe is still the first choice, but the interest in MLS is definitely growing. The players like Son Heung-min and Jung Ho-yeon and Kim Ki-hee have done well. And I think the more Korean players will come to MLS.
Last thing, who you cheering for on Saturday?
Son is my friend, but since I played for the Vancouver Whitecaps, I am cheering for Vancouver. I hope Son plays well, but I expect Vancouver to win, definitely.
Absolutely fantastic to hear from YP Lee there. Really miss him here in Vancouver. Tremendous player and having a great post-playing career as well on the broadcasting side. So I think that's all our build-up done now for this big one. It still can't come around soon enough for me. So we'll see how it all goes. We'll unpack it all in the next episode of the show, which will be out late on Monday or early on Tuesday. But we've a lot more football chat to bring you. And Asa's going to be back to chat with us about the MLS schedule changes. And we'll also hear from Don Garber about that and the changes to the Apple TV deal as well. And we'll be back with that after this episode's song from our album of the month.
Hey, I am Axel Schuster, and I'm listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Everything seems to be up in the air at this time. Everything seems to be up in the air at this time. One day soon, it'll all settle down. Everything seems to be up in the air at this time. All across the nation, people are getting together. From many ideas, they form a single goal. Some people gonna benefit, and others gotta sacrifice. But everything seems to be up in the air at this time. Everything seems to be up in the air at this time. Everything seems to be up in the air at this time. One day soon, it'll all settle down. But everything seems to be up in the air at this time. I got some certain special feelings for you. I got some certain special feelings for you. Don't know if they're good or bad, but I just might give you a call. Everything seems to be up in the air at this time.
Welcome back to There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show. And kicking off this part from Redlands, California, Camper Van Beethoven and the iconic band are featured for our album of the month for November, and it's their debut effort, the 1985 album Telephone Free Landslide Victory, the 17-track album celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and the song you heard there to kick off this part is the 17th and final track on it, the Ambiguity song. And we'll be back with more from Camper Van Beethoven in the next episode of the show. But we're going to get back to the football chat now, and we still have Asa Rehman with us from Global TV and the play-by-play announcer for the Whitecaps games on CKNW. So we talked a lot about the Whitecaps-LAFC game in part one of this episode. And obviously there's been the big delay waiting for this game, and partly because both teams got it done in two in their best of three series, which was great. But also you've got the international break. And we spoke about it on the show for the last couple of years. I hate it. It's a killer. Everyone's excited. All the momentum's there. And then you're off while the players are away on international duty. And if you're a good team, you know you've got players away on international duty. Will they come back uninjured? Whitecaps have had a tough time for that so far this year. Thankfully not in this window. Poor NYCFC though, who lost Martinez to an end of season injury to an ACL, and then Costa Rica don't even get to the World Cup on the top of it all. But Asa, we won't have that going forward. Next year, yes, but from 2027 onwards, there's a schedule change. And the playoffs are going to be getting played in May, maybe even to the start of June. We haven't spoken about this either on air or off air yet, but this has been long mooted that this was coming. Folk wondered, would they pull the trigger with all the cold markets in the league? I mean, what's your thought of the schedule change?
I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that this is the right move and sets them up for success moving forward because the main reason that you mentioned, aligning with the international calendar, I think that's the most important thing here, to get on that page and not miss players and not have to work around these international breaks in the middle of your playoffs. The one thing that obviously I'm curious to see how it all plays out is just the schedule in the winter months for some of the northern markets, some of the Central American markets as well. When you're dealing with snow, obviously, in some of these places, and just getting fans out to the stadiums as well. I think that can be tricky. But there's that month and a half off as well.
It could even be 2 months.
I was going to say it's just a little over that, right? It's mid-December to first week of February. So it's a good break, I think, to avoid the worst weather in some markets. I don't think Vancouver is going to be an issue at all. I think it's one of the warmer markets through the winter months. So that's good. Obviously, a covered stadium for the moment as well. But it will be challenging, obviously, for Montreal and Toronto in particular. And some of the Midwest. So we'll see how that plays out. But at least you're playing your most important and biggest games in warmer weather. I think that's one of the positives there, if you're just dealing with the weather of it. But aligning with the international schedule is the biggest draw, because you're not just like missing players for international duty, but you're also, I think, aligning with the transfer market as well, as far as the summer and January transfer windows. And that should be good for player movement, moving players out, moving players in. And as we're seeing the game grow, I think we can all agree that MLS is now like getting closer to that level. When you're having MLS players perform on the international stage for their respective countries, the way that they've been doing recently, it shows that the level is as high as it's ever been and continuing to grow and improve. And I think that as it continues to do that, it should be a market that's, similar to the Eredivisie or some of the other markets that kind of sell on to the top leagues. And I think that this is why they're positioning this way, is that if you're not, right up there with the Premier League and you're not near it, but maybe you're close to the top 3 or 4, where you are then selling to those leagues and working closer with those leagues. And this, I think, really helps them get closer to that conversation and making those deals.
It also means players both coming in and going out aren't playing non-stop for like a season and a half. Yeah. Which, I mean, it's a killer for them. I mean, we're quite lucky we've got a guy like Thomas Muller who's come in, but he's such a fit lad, and he's been able to go. He's just finished a season, Club World Cup, 37, and he's still going strong for another half season on top of that. So you won't have that now. Now, one thing we actually speculated on the show at the weekend, Asa, was with Thomas Muller. Now, his contract, assuming he's here in 2026, that's the end of it. But if there's going to be this sprint season for the first half of 2027, I could see him saying, I'll hang about for another half season, half year.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, the other thing that we're learning about Thomas Muller is that he absolutely loves it here.
Yeah.
He's enjoying his football. He loves the city as well. So yeah, I think that a lot will be determined in that regard next year. You know, how that goes 2026, and then we'll get a better idea of what 2027 looks like. But I do think that the Whitecaps will be able to bring in more players. Maybe not to that level because he's a rare breed, but of that higher caliber coming in here and then moving these guys out as well. I think that that could be good business for the Vancouver Whitecaps in particular, because we're seeing the spotlight shining on a lot of their international players right now. And that's just a matter of business. I know some people maybe new to the game or not as familiar with it, wondering like why these players are being moved out. Your Pedro Vites, let's say, but that's part of the game, right, Michael? You've known it, you've watched it, you've seen it happen.
We're going to lose some. Like, there's no way we keep hold of Sebastian Berhalter.
Right, and that's part of it, though, right? That's kind of how it works for leagues at this stage, or even the top leagues, right? That's kind of how it goes. Players come, players go, and it's what you do with the funds from those transactions. So I think it's exciting, especially for the Vancouver Whitecaps, because I think that for a league like MLS, you want to sell those, you want to develop and sell, essentially, right? That's kind of where you can make some money. And the Whitecaps are probably one of the best in the league when it comes to developing talent right now.
Yeah. And you look at there's a pipeline coming through as well from the twos and from the academy, and that's what you need, because you need those guys as well, and the big guys that you bring in. I mean, it's a big headache for us, like at the end of the year, who do they keep? Because you want to be better next year, so you have to improve, so you have to free up spots.
But part of that is leveling up your guys, right?
Yeah.
Jivan, Ryan Alumi, like it's creating opportunities for these guys and then seeing them level up. And we've seen so many of them kind of take that next step this season. And then, they're young enough where they can take more steps. So, or maybe some of the younger guys are the ones that you sell because there's more interest there. So, so much to still play out here. The Whitecaps are in good shape with just the depth that they have, obviously, and the success that we've seen this year.
I know I keep teasing a round table, but we'll do this now at the end of the year. It's been a season that's just never stopped. This has been so much stuff. And then even when it's been a bit quieter, I've been busy with college stuff, so I've not been able to get things done. But one thing
I've given up on it, Michael. I figure it's one of these things that you do for ratings. You just keep mentioning it, and people are like, oh, that round table, I'm going to keep tuning in so that the round table eventually comes.
I keep promising we're going to have like T-shirt designs and merchandise as well.
Great.
I've been doing that for about 10 years and never got round to it.
Brilliant.
But one thing I want to correct, something that we said on the weekend show. I'd mentioned, well, not correct, but just clarify. So I mentioned that I'd seen this chart and it had all the average temperatures in all the 30 cities for December and February. And the Whitecaps were joint third with Atlanta with an average temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was confused by that. But a couple of folk have pointed out that's probably because they're classing inside stadium temperature, not outside. So it's not that Vancouver's 70 degrees Fahrenheit, but we have a roof like Atlanta, which is why it was 70 degrees. So that made more sense when that was pointed out to me.
Still to the point I think you were making in that, like, Whitecaps will not be affected or impacted.
Even with a new stadium outside, it's not going to affect us big time.
Yeah. I think, for a lot of these markets, though, I think I'd be curious to see the impact it has on the fans showing up in the colder weather. But if the team is performing well, they'll show up. That's kind of how I see it. And I'm not even as concerned with the competition with other sports in certain markets. I think that there's a lot that's made about that. And I kind of get it. But at the same time, I think that for whatever sport it is, if you're doing well, if the team is doing well, they'll have a following and people will show up. Even in some of the most like crowded markets like Toronto, when the Raptors were doing well, people went to the Raptors games. It didn't matter what the Leafs were doing or the Jays starting up at that point. You're going to the team that's doing well. So I do think that if the Whitecaps continue to have a good product or whatever team it is, wherever they're located, I think that people will show up. It's when you're struggling in the cold months, it's a little bit tougher to get people out for sure.
I also think there'll be a limited number of games that are going to be played in horrible conditions because the league will try and get those teams away from home. And then, I mean, we're both on the same opinion about the CPL final, that we don't think it should have been played. Fine with it being in the cold, but you have to clear the pitch. And if you can't clear the pitch, you don't play the game.
I completely agree. I had so much backlash for saying that.
Oh, so have I. I'm still getting it.
Yeah, but for most people, for a lot of people, they were saying, we play in snow before, we've seen games of snow. I was like, yes, this was different because the field wasn't cleared. And that's the part where, and I watched it, I gave it like a fair chance, saw the bicycle kick goal, and then still had the opinion that like it should not have been played because it was no longer resembling the sport that we watch.
And it's a championship game.
It's a championship game.
If this is just a regular MLS match or a CPL match, it's like, fine, it's a spectacle, it's a bit of fun. It still could be costly, but it's not your showcase game.
Exactly right. And I think it was best case scenario because I think it would have been extremely complicated to postpone and reschedule that final for logistical reasons. So I understand why it went on. And then it was best case scenario. Nobody got hurt. You had the viral moments. So, yeah, it's all right. But in my opinion, probably, should not have been played. Should have been rescheduled because it was, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches of snow, and you're not even hitting passes anymore, and no one's trying to. You're not doing anything that you prepared going into that game. You're literally just kicking it up the field and hoping your teammate doesn't fall down, and you make the most of an opportunity, which is it wasn't fun to watch for me. It was interesting and entertaining, but it was also frustrating when you see players who've put in so much, sacrificed so much for that moment, just struggling to stand on their feet.
It's the biggest advert for the MLS schedule change because it's like you don't want, and we could even have it this year. If the MLS Cup's in Philadelphia or Cincinnati, it's going to be cold, it's going to be snowy. They will make sure there's a clear pitch, but it's now going to be avoided, and that's just the best thing for everyone as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's great. I wish it was happening next year. That seemed the perfect year to do it with the World Cup break. But I mean, it is what it is. Well, thank you for joining us on the show today, Asa. We're actually going to talk a bit more in the next part about the schedule change. I'm going to bring the full press conference from Don Garber talking about the announcement of that and the Apple TV deal. So that will come up in the next part. But before you go, Asa, let everyone know where they can find you online.
Yeah, sure. On X at Asa Rehman, on Instagram at Asa Ray, and love the banter. Really enjoying Twitter or X at the moment. Some good banter, some good conversations. I have such a love-hate with social media, but right now it's a lot of love. So keep the comments coming, and thanks very much for everyone who has been supporting and following over the years.
Yeah, I love social media and the interactions that I have. I hate reading social media for other stuff, especially when it's anything political. It's just like, we won't go into that. But no, it's like, give Asa a follow if you're not already. If you're not at the game, stick his commentary on as well while you're watching it on the TV. And you can get the feed now on Apple TV as well.
That's right. This will be a home game, so you could toggle that switch if you're watching on Apple TV and listen to our local call. Myself and Colin Miller, half-hour pregame as well. That'll start at 6 o'clock on CKNW and CKNW.com. And great guests, as always, so looking forward to another packed pregame show on Saturday.
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing it, looking forward to the game, and thank you for joining us again, Asa.
Yeah, no problem. Always a pleasure, Michael.
So let's get into that Don Garber audio now, where it's the press conference. He's Don Garber now on 2 of the last 3 shows. Who would have thought it? But just chatting about the announcement, why they've made the switch to the MLS schedule, and touching on the Apple TV deal as well. Let's hear what they had to say.
All of you know that we are running towards the end of our 30th season. A year of welcoming our 30th team in San Diego that has performed so well on and off the field. We're experiencing a break now until our next round of the playoffs. And it's the perfect time for us to get together as an enterprise and talk about our future. When you think about how far we've come in the 30 years since MLS was founded, coming out of the 1994 World Cup, it's the perfect time for us to be leaning into this next transformational moment in the history of the sport in this part of the world, which is the World Cup coming up this summer in the United States, Mexico, and in Canada. Most of you might know that last July at our All-Star game, we talked about something we call MLS 3.0. We like to describe these shifts in the evolution of our league strategy from our founding to that period of time, which was really driven by the growth of our league through expansion, and then sitting here today thinking about, now that we have established this great foundation, what do we need to do for the next 30 years to capture this great opportunity to bottle all the excitement and energy around our league and the growth of soccer in this continent, and do it in ways that evolve and use innovation and take some risks as we think about the future. Last July, we talked about a half dozen different things that we were putting into this bucket of 3.0. The first was evaluating the potential transition to the international match calendar. The second was a review of our roster rules. How are we organizing the various spending levels within our roster strategy, and how could we ensure that we're providing our teams who are way more knowledgeable and way more experienced than they were when this league was founded and during our earliest years, to make decisions that they think work for them, to capture their fan interest and be successful on and off the field. The third was our competition format, which has evolved over time, but what kind of changes could we look at to our regular season, to our playoff formats? The fourth is a real deep analysis of player development, both here in the United States and throughout Canada. As you know, we invest deeply in our academies, in MLS Next, which is our elite youth program. We've invested deeply in now year 5 of MLS Next Pro, but how could we ensure that we're strengthening the player development pipeline to produce more elite homegrown talent at a higher rate as we continue to engage in the international transfer market, both as it relates to those players that come into our league and those players through great development that we're able to sell on. The last, which I think is so important and shouldn't be lost on anyone, it is continuing our leadership globally on developing world-class soccer stadiums, continuing this momentum both as it relates to the cathedrals that we have to present our games, but also to build out our player development facilities so that we could support that pillar I talked about earlier, managing player development. As you all know, we will be opening our new stadium in the first opening in 2026 in Miami, not far from where we are here today. A spectacular facility, Miami Freedom Park, 1 million square feet of office space and other amenities for the community, and a world-class stadium. Our New York City FC stadium will open up in 2027. We received updates on this stadium in Miami at our board meeting today. It's spectacular, a near 12-year project that we think will transform the way our sport is presented in the New York metropolitan area. And then lastly, in Chicago, a team that came into our league in 1998, and in the years to come, in just a few short years, we'll have a stadium in downtown Chicago in the South Loop, and we couldn't be more excited about this great opportunity for the Chicago Fire. Second to last is our World Cup engagement project and our plan. We'll be unveiling the details of that shortly. And then lastly, how could we continue to use technology and media to tell our stories, to engage our fans, not just here in North America, but around the world through our partnership with Apple and other media and tech platforms. So today, of those many different pillars, we're going to be talking about 2. The first is our Apple TV partnership. Beginning in 2026, every MLS and Leagues Cup match will be available on Apple TV. For those of you who don't know, formerly that was Apple TV+. This transition expands the reach of our games and our tournaments to tens of millions of subscribers globally and integrates all of the content that we produce at the local level and at the league level with one of the world's leading streaming platforms. Thirdly, it allows us to put our games alongside other great sports like Major League Baseball, recently announced by Apple F1, all the great content and long and short form programming that exists today on Apple TV and will exist in the future, and having our casual viewers have an opportunity to be exposed to Major League Soccer in a broader footprint and hopefully become lifelong MLS fans. We couldn't be more excited about the years that we've been with Apple for the last 3 years in MLS Season Pass. It speaks to their desire and their character of innovation. It's what attracted us to Apple in the first place. We all spent a lot of time looking at MLS Season Pass. Our ratings have grown almost 30% on our subscription product, but we now have the opportunity with just one click, with no blackouts, with global distribution, to have our fans have greater access to our games. So bottom line, Apple is very focused on the consumer experience. We are very focused as how we could have our fans have better access to our games, and this new development with Apple is something we couldn't be more excited about. Secondly is a new global calendar starting with the 2027 season. Today, our owners made a decision that I think is one of the most important decisions in our league's history, a year in the making. Great engagement from our owners, from our chief business officers and our chief soccer officers, that effort led by Nelson Rodriguez. A lot of research with fans and with business partners, going through all the work that we would need to do to take this league after 30 years. And shortly from now, in 2027, 1 year after the World Cup, be able to align with the international calendar. We'll have a launch starting in July, and we'll conclude with the Audi MLS Cup playoffs in May. The MLS Cup will take place in May. We'll have a winter break that will be from mid-December through early to mid-February. This is an opportunity for us to eliminate the competition that we had for our playoffs as they exist today, in a very crowded time of the year. It allows us to be aligned with the international transfer windows, which we think is incredibly important. It gives us a wide variety of opportunities that will expand our ability to be on this path to be one of the top and leading leagues in the world. And Nelson can provide more detail on that. Very importantly, I wanted to say that we've been working very closely with the MLSPA. We'll continue to do that to finalize a transition plan. I want to give them a shout out for the professionalism that they showed as we went through this negotiation process, and we look forward to continuing to work with them as we finalize the full transition to this international calendar. As part of this transition, we've been working hard on a new regular season format, potentially a new playoff format. All of that has been in process. There's been a lot of work being done internally and with our clubs, and we spent a lot of time with ownership. No final decisions have been made sitting here today in November, but we look forward to continue to work on that, and hopefully we'll have news to announce sometime soon. It's important to say the amount of research that's been done for this project. 92% of those research that are following soccer leagues, including Major League Soccer, support this new change to the international calendar. Games will be played in a similar time frame. While the start and finish of the season will shift, the vast majority of our games will continue to be played in the same time frame as today's schedule. An initial projection of the 2027-2028 schedule, 91% of our matches will fall within the MLS season footprint. And Nelson, whether it's be questions or wants to add anything before questions, could talk about the season that we have, which will be we're calling it a sprint season. I think Nelson has a different description of that. We could lay out how that will break out. So to conclude, our owners have a deep belief in this league. Well north of 12 million fans came through our stands this year alone in the regular season. Our owners have a true commitment and vision to continue to evolve and be innovative in how they think about every aspect of our league on and off the field. And I want to thank them for their support and the work that they put into this project to allow us to continue to grow in the very, very important years ahead. So I want to thank you, Nelson, for all the work that you and your team have done on this, and we'll go to questions.
Thanks, Don. Obviously, a huge day today on multiple levels for MLS. Listening to kind of the checklist of MLS 3.0, the things that you're trying to get over the line, how important is it to you, to the owners, to the league, to have all of those boxes checked for the start of this season in 2027? In other words, to get over the line, not just the calendar change and the regular season, postseason format, but also the roster rule changes, and to kind of unveil this all at once in 2027. Is that the goal, to have that last bit done in time for 2027?
You know, I think in a perfect world, Paul, the answer to that is yes. But as I think all of you have heard from me in the past, rather take our time and get it right than be fast and get it wrong. You know, these are changes and evolutions that will transform the league, changing your competition format, something that leagues rarely do. So we'll continue to work through the process and do it the right way, get the right amount of input, do the right amount of research, both with our external stakeholders that include our fans, but also our internal stakeholders, our teams on the sporting and business side. So we're moving with a strategic focus to try to get it all done by the launch of the international calendar in 27.
I just wanted to ask about the winter break. Obviously, the release mentions that league matches will pause. Have there been discussions about filling that break with any other competitions, say the Leagues Cup, to avoid 6 weeks of teams not playing?
Throw it over to Nelson.
Ben, we will consider anything, and we will look at whether it's Leagues Cup, some other competition, or some centralized training for all our teams, as we've done in the past during preseason. But our clubs are very good at engaging their fans throughout the year. I'm sure they'll be innovative and staying in touch. But we're confident that we'll have some meaningful work to do in January.
I'm curious, how much pushback was there from the northern markets on this? I'm thinking about Montreal, of course, but also Minnesota, New York, Chicago, Toronto. What kind of maybe assurances or promises financially or otherwise did you give them?
Well, again, it's not really appropriate at this time to talk about what happened inside our boardrooms over the last year or so. When you make changes to a competitive format, or change your revenue share, or change your rules like we did with the designated player, or change our roster configurations with what we did with the U22 initiative, or what we've done with spending discretionary money, they all have different impact on different clubs. And our northern teams will be impacted far more than certainly our southern teams were. But our southern teams were very impacted by playing games in Texas and in Florida and parts of the United States that were super hot during the summer window. Overall, our owners are very committed to being one of the top leagues in the world, and being one of the few that isn't aligned with the international calendar has us almost have an American exceptionalism, saying that we're going to play the game the way we want to play it, as opposed to the way the rest of the world plays it. And we just believe, even with the impact, which could be disproportionate on one team over another, that the great partnership and alignment that our teams have with each other won the day. And that speaks to the way our owners have behaved and acted as true partners throughout the 30 years of Major League Soccer. As I reflect back on all of the challenges that these owners have had to manage through over the last number of years, one of the most remarkable accomplishments is how focused they are on alignment and being partners off the field and being strong competitors on the field. And I want to really applaud them for that.
Can you speak to the changes on the business side that
the league and the clubs will need to kind of go through to manage this transition, whether it be in terms of corporate partners, ticket sales, et cetera?
Yeah, obviously we wouldn't have gotten to asking for a vote without having our teams not only fully prepared for what they need to do, but doing a deep analysis with us on what the impact of this transition would be, Alex. So as it relates to the timing of season tickets, how do they manage their corporate sponsors? And by the way, this is true at the league level as well. How could we look at the change in calendar and how that fits how we go to market at different times of the year? And the bottom line is this change is been approved because we think it will overall, particularly with this change with Apple, raise the overall awareness, therefore the engagement with our teams, and therefore make them more valuable to the corporate community and to their fans. And again, I want to reiterate, the numbers of games that are impacted across the league is only a handful. And I think this idea that this was going to dramatically impact the overall position of the league, the math and the research just doesn't prove that to be true.
I'm curious, if you look at the proposed change now, or the change now, it seems that the middle of the season will now compete with the NFL, MLB, and I wonder, are you concerned about that? The competition you now face from other sports?
Thanks, Tom. In the United States and in Canada, we're sporting nations. So there's never a period in the calendar where there isn't competition. What we believe is that we are optimizing our calendar through this new footprint. We'll open our season in the middle of July, where the only active men's professional sports league at that time will be MLB. And it's a prime opportunity for us to open under prime conditions for our players to perform and showcase their talents. We'll end our season similarly in prime conditions, with an April run-in and a mighty playoff that's uninterrupted by a FIFA window, excellent weather, fields will be pristine. So we actually think that this sets us up to showcase ourselves in a much better form. The competition will always be there, whether it's gridiron or hoops or sticks and balls. What we believe now, though, is our sport, and our league in particular, will be able to showcase itself at its best at the beginning, the middle, and end of our season.
I just wanted to ask about the players' contracts. I'm sure that was one of the big discussions that you had with the MLSPA. But obviously, a lot of contracts will run out at December 31st, 2026. How would that impact going then forward into 2027?
Yeah, let us not comment on the labor situation for now. I'm sure there will be a time soon that we'll be able to collectively with the MLSPA have a discussion and we can talk about all those details.
Yeah, no, gentlemen. Commissioner, you said a few moments ago that you didn't really want to go into the detail of how the vote broke down, but I'd like to politely push you a little on that for a reason, which is I think we all knew all along that this was not going to be unanimous. But this is a league that wants to build as much consensus as possible when it makes a big move like this. Can you give us a sense of how far in that regard you were able to get?
Well, again, I could understand how you want us to disclose what happens in our board meetings, and I think you'd understand that I'm not going to do that. I think, Jonathan, the league in its earliest days strove for unanimity on every decision because we had a very small ownership group, and there were different factors that affected each team, and whether they were a new team or an old team or a big market or a small market, whether a big spender or a small spender. And as the league continues to evolve, we have to move collectively down a path where we are managing a shared and collective vision and the agreements that are associated with that. There was overwhelming support for this move, overwhelming. And frankly, I think there was more support for it than I expected. That's a positive, but it wasn't necessary. So again, Jonathan, I'm going to say the level of due diligence that our teams did, their level of support for understanding the transformational impact that this move has on the overall enterprise, both on and off the field, just drove overwhelming support. And I'm proud of them for the decisions that they've made.
With a lot of CSOs around the league routinely, I guess, on or off the record will speak about the importance of aligning transfer windows with Europe as a big positive to the schedule change. I guess if you're able to speak to how much of an advantage or a level playing field that should give clubs when they're buying some of the top players around the world. And then one quick follow-up, I know that the league has discussed prior to the schedule change, changing transfer windows a little bit, but ran into logistical issues with the Canadian Federation. What is the status of the transfer windows changing with the schedule?
Thanks, Tom. If you don't mind, I'll take it. First, I'll take the second part first. We have received notification from FIFA and CONCACAF that our Canadian brethren, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, for purposes of the transfer window, can be considered domestic clubs as the rest of our U.S. teams. This allows the U.S. transfer window to be independent of the Canadian one and alleviates the tension that may have existed on when the transfer windows should be in Canada. We also will look to work with U.S. Soccer and other U.S. leagues to push our transfer window slightly beyond the close of the major European windows. This would avail us to all those players out of contract or under more favorable terms. We think aligning with the massive global window that occurs during our summer will help improve the quality of play in MLS. First, it allows us to consider a wider berth of players. Second, it allows our teams to roster build in a way where they don't have to compromise between considering transferring a player and perhaps jeopardizing a playoff run. The players who enter our league now in that window will be available for more regular season games. And those teams that are competing in CONCACAF Champions Cup will have those players fully acclimated for that tournament. So we expect to have our activity both in the transfer player services out and in incoming transfer services of players in to be much more active. This will make us a more vibrant league and improve our player quality overall.
And Tom, I'll give you a factoid that we shared with our board today. This year is the first year that we've gone over $200 million in outgoing player transfers. That is with a lack of alignment on the international windows. So you could imagine our enthusiasm of what that could look like in the years ahead.
You guys have talked about a lot of stuff. There's a lot to sift through here. And I apologize if I missed this amidst all that, but where are you on the single table and division format, going from the two conferences to divisions to the single table? How's that going?
Not yet ready to talk about that, Kevin, but as you can imagine, as we're thinking, somebody had asked, are you going to try to get all this done by 2027? The answer to that is that's our intention, and included within that would be a new competition format.
MLS Commissioner Don Garber there alongside the VP of Sporting Product and Competition, Nelson Rodriguez, just talking about the announcement last week that the MLS are changing in 2027 to a fall to spring schedule running from August to May. And we started off this part by playing the song from Camper Van Beethoven, the ambiguity song. And there's a little bit of ambiguity as to exactly what this new schedule will look like, what it's going to mean like for the players for contracts, is there going to be divisions, what are the playoffs going to look like. So not a lot of clarity yet, but all we know is this is happening, and the league now have basically 18 months to kind of get everything in place, everything sorted out. They will obviously need it way before then for being able to sell season tickets and everything, especially with the 2027 sprint season that is coming up. But I wanted to bring you that press conference in full just so you could get the gist of what Don Garber had told media. But there will be a lot more to come out, as we touched upon in the last episode of the podcast. I feel it's win-win all round for the fans, for the teams, for the owners. Hopefully the players will feel that way as well. So we'll see how all of this plays out in the coming weeks and months ahead. But that is it for the football chat. It's not it though for the show. We will finish, as we always do, with this episode's wavelength, this section of the show where we play a song all about football or around football. And I mentioned at the start that we'll talk more about the World Cup qualifiers and especially Scotland getting to the World Cup next year in the next episode of the show. But after that very dramatic 2 hours of football on Tuesday, there was only one theme I could have in this episode of Wavelength, and that was a song about the Scottish national team. And this is a single that was released in 2021. It was a fundraising single released ahead of the Euros that year, where Scotland had finally got back to a big tournament. But I think the lyrics for this are still very apt 4 years later, after Scotland's World Cup qualification, getting to the big tournament for the first time since France in 1998. This is Randolph's Leap. They didn't see us coming.
You know they didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. My heartbeat is drumming, but my head's in the zone. Now hearts may be broken, and tears they may fall, but after decades of hoping, it's nice to be here at all. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just boogie until we have to go home. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just boogie until we have to go home. Now we have a story of snatching defeat from the jaws of glory, but that's the way to get beat. Now we're not deluded, our chances aren't great, but it's so nice to be included, arriving fashionably late. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just boogie until we have to go home. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just boogie until we have to go home.
2021, Randolph's Leap, they didn't see us coming. I don't think too many folk had Scotland getting the automatic qualification spot, heading off to World Cup 2026. Still keeping my fingers crossed that they will be here in Vancouver, or at the very worst, Seattle. But we'll talk more about Scotland. We'll talk more about the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers in the next episode of the show, because that was a wild Tuesday night as well. So the next episode of the show, we're going to record it as usual on Sunday night, but we're not going to bring it out until after the Minnesota-San Diego game on Monday. So look for it to drop in your podcast feeds Monday evening, Tuesday morning, and hopefully, and I'm expecting it will be, a very joyous one as we're celebrating the Whitecaps' victory over LAFC. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the show. Thanks to Asa for joining us for this. Always great having him on and chatting Whitecaps. We'll get him on, talking some more local football in the weeks to come as well. But until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. Enjoy yourself on Saturday. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN